On May 21st, 1960, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a baby boy was born. His name, Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer. To neighbors and family, Jeffrey seemed like any other child, but behind his shy exterior, a storm was brewing. By his teenage years, Dahmer developed an unusual fascination. He collected dead animals, dissected them, and studied their bones. What looked like childhood curiosity was actually the seed of something much darker. His parents' marriage fell apart. Jeffrey grew increasingly isolated, drinking heavily even as a high school student. By the time he turned 18, his thoughts had already crossed into dangerous territory. In the summer of 1978, just after his graduation, Dahmer picked up a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks. They drank beer together at Dahmer's family home. But when Stephen wanted to leave, Jeffrey panicked. He didn't want him to go. With a dumbbell, he struck Hicks from behind, strangled him, and dismembered the body. He buried the remains in his backyard. This was Dahmer's first murder. And though years would pass before he killed again, the fantasy never left him. By the late 1980s, Dahmer was living alone in Milwaukee. He discovered that he could lure young men, often vulnerable, often from minority communities, back to his apartment with offers of money, drinks, or photographs. Once inside, the pattern was chillingly consistent. He would drug them, strangle them to death, perform sexual acts with their corpses, and then dismember the bodies. But it didn't stop there. Dahmer began keeping skulls, bones, and body parts as trophies. He stored them in drawers, closets, and his freezer. He experimented with dissolving bodies in acid. At times, he consumed flesh, crossing into cannibalism. His apartment became a nightmare few could imagine, a place where death and decay were hidden behind locked doors. Between 1978 and 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer killed 17 young men and boys. Many were Black, Asian, or Latino, targeted in part because Dahmer believed police would be less likely to pursue their disappearances. Some were just teenagers. Their families would never see them again. Dahmer took photographs of his victims at every stage, posing them while alive and even after death. These images became his trophies, reminders of control and possession. Dahmer's capture could have come much earlier. In one infamous case, in 1991, neighbors saw a 14-year-old boy, counteracting to some phone, running from Dahmer's apartment, drugged and disoriented. Police were called. But when officers arrived, Dahmer calmly explained that the boy was his lover, that it was just a lover's quarrel. The police believed him and returned the boy to Dahmer's custody. Hours later, Conorak was dead. On July 22, 1991, everything changed. Dahmer invited Tracy Edwards, a 32-year-old man, to his apartment. But Tracy sensed something was wrong. When Dahmer tried to handcuff him, Tracy fought back and managed to escape. He flagged down 2 police officers and led them to Dahmer's door. Inside, the officers made a gruesome discovery. Photographs of dismembered bodies, skulls and bones throughout the apartment, a refrigerator containing human remains, including a head, a 57-gallon drum filled with decomposing torsos. The world would soon learn the name Jeffrey Dahmer, and his crimes would shock a nation. Dahmer confessed in chilling detail. In 1992, he was charged with 17 murders, convicted of 15, and sentenced to life in prison, 16 consecutive terms. In court, he expressed remorse, claiming he was driven by uncontrollable urges and loneliness. Some saw a broken man. Others saw pure evil. Prison did not bring him peace. On November 28, 1994, just 2 years into his sentence, Dahmer was beaten to death by a fellow inmate, Christopher Scarver, inside the Columbia Correctional Institution. Jeffrey Dahmer was 34 years old. The story of Jeffrey Dahmer left scars that never healed. Families of victims continue to grieve. The case forced America to question law enforcement, prejudice, and how someone so disturbed could operate in plain sight for so long. Dahmer's name became synonymous with horror, a chilling reminder of how evil can hide behind an ordinary face.